Christmas is cancelled. Santa has cancelled Christmas in our small island of Ellsbury, came the newsreader's voice from the television set. This year there'll be no Christmas parties, no carols, no crackers, and no presents, wailed 7-year-old Sam. Mom! I know, said Sam's mum. Christmas is cancelled. It was in the newspaper. There's nothing we can do. It was the talk of this small island that day and into the next. Shopkeepers put away crackers and coloured lights. Schools cancelled Christmas plays. Cards were put back in boxes and decorations hidden in attics. Everyone looked miserable. Even the Christmas tree already standing in the town square was left completely bare. There was not a Christmas light in sight. The people walked the streets saying "ooh" and "ah" as they shrugged and waved their hands in the air. But they did nothing. They never really did anything. They were far too used to being told what to do by their bossy mayor with a booming voice, Colonel Thunderclap, and his two brothers, Grouch and Gruesome. Everyone was scared of Colonel Thunderclap. Everyone stood tall and listened when he started to speak. The people simply plodded back to their houses and kept their curtains firmly closed. They were far too upset to want to look out of their own windows. But deep down in the mayor's chamber there was dancing and singing. There was shouting and cheering. Deep in the chamber the mayor and his two card-dealing brothers were happy. They were having a party. "Oh, we did it!" boomed the mayor. "We've cancelled Christmas! They really did believe that my letter cancelling Christmas was from Santa Claus!" "Yeah, now we won't have to close on Christmas Day," shouted Gruesome and Grouch. "Think of all the extra dodgy cars we'll sell. Who needs Christmas? No one ever buys cars at Christmas. But without Christmas, there'll be queues down our street." "Yes," boomed the mayor as his big black moustache curled into a ball. "And think of all the money I'll save by not putting lights on the Christmas tree in the square. I might even be able to buy myself a lovely new motor car with all the electricity we'll save. A limousine fit for a mayor. This is going to be the best Christmas we've never had." Yes, the brothers agreed, covering their ears, for they knew that Colonel Thunderclap had quite the loudest voice of anyone. The people of Ellsbury always stood tall and listened when Colonel Thunderclap spoke. As time went on, people became even more miserable. Those sounds of ooh and ah had become longer and louder. The shrugging and waving of hands became even wilder. Decorations were kept in attics as curtains stayed closed, and the great Christmas tree stood in darkness without any lights. But still nothing was done. "Why has Santa cancelled Christmas?" Sam complained, staring into the calendar on the front room wall. It was December the 23rd. Tomorrow should have been Christmas Eve, but Sam knew that without a Christmas Day there couldn't really be a Christmas Eve. "I don't know," said his mum. "It's so unfair. It's not like Santa Claus at all. But we can't have Christmas without Santa Claus." Sam shrugged. He knew his mum was right. He stared out of the window at the people walking by. They were all still shrugging and waving their arms about. But deep in the mayor's chamber, the mayor and his brothers were no longer dancing and singing. They had begun to argue. "Hardly anyone's been in our car showroom," said Grouch. "They're all too miserable to come and buy anything." "Yeah," agreed Gruesome. "There isn't anyone here who wants to go looking for cars. Not when Christmas is cancelled. They're just too miserable." "Yeah, well, just you wait," boomed the mayor, wiping his big black moustache. "Just you wait until tomorrow. They'll be knocking on your doors to buy your dodgy deals." "Anyway," said Grouch, "I like Christmas. I wanted a new teddy bear for my Christmas present this year." "Yeah, I wanted a model boat," said Gruesome. "Oh, do be quiet," boomed the mayor. "But," shouted Grouch, "what if Santa Claus does turn up? What then? Then everyone will know that it was not Santa who sent the letter to cancel Christmas. They will know it was us. They will." "Santa Claus?" the mayor shouted. "There's no such person as Santa Claus. Anyway, just you think of those free rides I shall be giving you in my new limousine. That's all you have to worry about. Who needs Santa Claus?" The other men shook their heads. Just like the rest of the people of this small island, they now felt miserable. Suddenly, having no Christmas didn't seem to be such a good idea, after all. It was soon December the 24th. It should have been Christmas Eve, but the shops were not full of holly and crackers. They didn't have brightly coloured lights hanging from their windows, and not a curtain was open, for, as everyone knew, Christmas was cancelled. Those sounds of ooh and ah had become even longer and louder, and the Christmas tree in the square remained bare. There was not a coloured light in sight. Sam stared at the empty space in the front room where the Christmas tree had stood last year. He thought back to the great pile of presents he had then. He pressed his nose hard up against the window. He could see snow beginning to dance down from the sky. "Wow!" cried Sam. "A white Christmas! Look!" "Close the curtain," said his mum. Sam pulled the curtain closed, then smiled before pulling on his coat. He went outside. He knew not to wander off. He just stood outside the front door and began to sing. He started to sing the carols he had learnt last year. With the first carol, the curtain from the house opposite began to twitch, and the snow carried on falling. With the second carol, the people walking by seemed to have stopped waving and shrugging. Some were now not looking quite so miserable as usual, and Sam had found that he was not alone. He had been joined by 2 more children, both singing carols. After their third carol, it seemed as if half the street had come out to listen and to join in. "Christmas may be cancelled," one said, "but no one said anything about not singing carols, did they?" "No," everyone chanted, now not sounding at all miserable or upset. In fact, as everyone joined in with the carols, the gathering of people here in Aylesbury was suddenly having quite the most marvellous time of all. The snow was now thick on the ground. The curtains up and down Sam's road were no longer twitching, but had been pulled wide open. "This is almost better than Christmas," one of the shopkeepers shouted. "Yes," the crowd roared. "Santa Claus may have cancelled Christmas, but no one said we couldn't have fun. Let's put up some decorations." Shopkeepers suddenly ran into their shops to pull out holly and brightly coloured lights. People charged into their houses to get out decorations, and everyone carried on singing. "Oh, this is wonderful," the crowds cheered. "We can have Christmas without Santa." "A Christmas?" came a low, booming voice. "A Christmas?" The cheering and shouting suddenly stopped. "A Christmas?" The crowd turned to look up at that big black moustache. They knew that voice. It was the mayor. Everyone stood tall and listened when Colonel Thunderclap boomed. "Christmas is cancelled," the mayor boomed. "Put away those decorations. Take down those lights. You can't have Christmas without Santa Claus." No one said a word. They were all too frightened to say anything to the mayor. The snow had stopped falling, and once again the people of Aylesbury looked miserable. They had to do as they were told. They knew this. They always did what the mayor told them. A cold wind suddenly blew across Sam's face. He stared up into the clear sky, then smiled. "Santa Claus," whispered Sam, blinking away a burst of light. "It's Santa Claus." "Wow," the crowd chorused, looking up just in time to see a ball of light rush across the night sky. Rubbish! Absolute rubbish!" boomed the mayor. "Yippee!" cried the 2 brothers. "Now we'll get our teddy bears and boats. Yeah, it must be Santa." "No," boomed the mayor. "Christmas is cancelled." But the people weren't listening or standing tall. Nothing could make them listen to the mayor. Not now. In fact, no one would ever take much notice of the mayor again. They were far too busy clapping and shouting, for they knew that Christmas was not cancelled after all. Suddenly, everyone did fall silent. Everyone did stand tall, but not because of the mayor's booming voice. Not this time. This time it was for another reason. Everyone was staring at the grand Christmas tree in the town square. It was slowly lighting up in all the colours of the rainbow, sending tiny shadows dancing across the faces of the crowd. I say, unplug those lights," the mayor boomed. "Unplug them now." "Yeah, there aren't any lights on the Christmas tree," gulped Grouch. "We didn't put none on." "Wow, that's magic," said Sam. "Christmas is magic," whispered a voice in Sam's ear as another ball of light rushed across the night sky. Christmas is magic, Sam. The Donkey and the Angel. Alex had never wanted to be the donkey in the school Christmas play. She had wanted to be an angel. "Donkeys are clumsy," Miranda shouted at her. "Donkeys look silly." Miranda had been Alex's best friend. But not anymore, not since Alex had been chosen to be the donkey in their school Christmas play. Miranda didn't want to be friends with someone who was going to be a donkey. After all, Miranda knew that she was going to be the angel. "Donkey, donkey," Miranda shouted as Alex ran down the school corridor. "Donkey." For 2 weeks things carried on this way. Every day the whole class practiced for their Christmas play, and every day Alex watched as Miranda danced about the stage in her angel costume with a silly grin. She watched those silver ribbons flap above her head as she performed her special angel dance. 1 step to the left, 1 step to the right, a twist in the air before landing gently on both feet. Their teacher, Mrs. Moore, would wave and smile. The children would cheer and clap, and Alex would just watch. The day of the Christmas performance soon came. The children were practicing their play for one very last time. Miranda was dancing about the stage in her angel costume. 1 step to the left, 1 step to the right, a twist in the air before landing gently on both feet. Mrs. Moore smiled. And then it was Alex's turn. It was her turn to come on stage and be the clumsy old donkey. She climbed the stairs to the stage. "That's it," Mrs. Moore said. "Walk on quickly. Good girl. Shake your head once, then off you go." Alex could hear Miranda giggling. Of course, Miranda always giggled when Alex came on stage in a big brown costume and heavy mask. And Alex tried not to notice. Except today. Today, as they practiced, the giggling seemed to be louder than usual. It seemed as if everyone in the hall was laughing and giggling at Alex, the clumsy donkey. Alex felt her face flush over. Tears filled her eyes. In one way, she was glad that she had that silly big brown mask on. At least the other children wouldn't be able to see how upset she was. "That's enough. That really is," growled Mrs. Moore at the class. "It's unkind. Alex is doing her best. Who started it?" The children fell silent. The tears in Alex's eyes were now running down her cheeks. She knew who had started it. Through the tiny holes in her mask, she could see Miranda with her long hair grinning back at her. Alex didn't want anyone to work out that she was crying. She had to do something, and quickly. "I never wanted to be a donkey," Alex suddenly shouted. "Donkeys are stupid. Donkeys are clumsy." And with that, she ran out of the hall. "Come back," shouted Mrs. Moore. They didn't mean to upset you." Alex ran down the corridor and into her classroom. She fell into her seat, pulled off her mask, and froze. She couldn't believe what she saw standing in front of her. There, just beside the blackboard, was one donkey with 2 enormous grey ears and deep, shining green eyes. The donkey took a step closer to her. "So, we're stupid. Donkeys are clumsy," it said. Alex opened her mouth and closed it again. She knew that hearing a donkey talk was a strange thing indeed. But to start talking to a donkey must surely be stranger still. "Well," continued the donkey, flapping its huge ears which looked like 2 fluffy rabbits, "and what do you say?" "Sorry," Alex eventually replied. "I didn't really think." "But you did say," the donkey said, its grey face breaking into a smile, "you did say that we were clumsy." Without quite knowing why, Alex felt herself smiling back. "That's better," the donkey continued, its rabbit ears flapping. "Your tears have gone. Don't cry." "I'm not really crying," Alex said. "I was upset." "Me too," boomed the donkey, his deep green eyes losing their smile. "Upset about being called clumsy and stupid." "I didn't think. I'm sorry." The smile quickly came back into the donkey's face. Alex knew that she was being teased. "It doesn't matter," he said. "Most people think us clumsy and stupid. But we donkeys, well, we're not like that. No one ever wants to play the part of the donkey in the Christmas play. It's just not fair." "Oh dear, I am sorry." "Then you'll help me," said the donkey, moving closer to Alex. "I want you to show everyone that donkeys are not stupid or clumsy." "But how?" "Well, Alex, you just have to believe that you can do anything." "Anything?" "Of course, if you want to. Donkeys can do anything. If not, then I would not be standing here talking to you, would I?" "Alex," came a voice from in the corridor. "Alex, are you in there?" Alex spun round. Mrs. Moore appeared at the classroom door. Alex blinked, then turned to stare back at the donkey, but the donkey had gone. It had disappeared from sight. "Now look," said Mrs. Moore, "what if we leave the donkey out of the play? You could join the choir." "No," said Alex without stopping to think. "I want to be a donkey." "But I thought—" "No," repeated Alex politely. "I'm the donkey." "That's fine," Mrs. Moore said, "but we don't have time to do it all over again. Our performance is tonight. We can't let it go wrong. We have the newspaper man coming to take some pictures." The children all gathered in Mrs. Moore's classroom later that evening for the proper performance. The room was full of excited chatter. Miranda was brushing back her lovely white hair and practising her dance. One step to the left, one step to the right, a twist in the air before landing gently on both feet. Alex just sat, holding onto the donkey's mask, not speaking to anyone. She didn't quite understand why, but for once she was looking forward to playing the part of the donkey. And she was going to enjoy herself. "Right, children," Mrs. Moore said. "Let's get into place. There's a full house tonight. All your parents are here." Their Christmas play soon started. Alex knew she was not on until the end. The choir sang their carols, other children acted out scenes, and Alex just sat. She felt herself becoming excited. It would soon be her turn to be the donkey. She stared into the faces of the parents. They were smiling politely. The man from the newspaper was ready to take a picture of Miranda. Another man with a fuzzy beard was dozing on the front row. In the middle of the front row was Miranda's mum. She was holding an enormous cake on her lap with the words, "For Miranda, our very own angel, on the night of your performance," written on top. Music suddenly filled the hall. Miranda jumped on stage. Alex knew she would be next. One step to the left, one step to the right, a twist in the air before landing gently on both feet. The newspaper man took 3 or 4 pictures. The parents again smiled politely and clapped. And then it was Alex's turn. But Alex did not slowly make her way up the steps. She leapt onto the stage in one jump before skipping and hopping in front of the parents. The audience immediately started to applaud. They had seen plenty of hopping and dancing angels before in Christmas school plays, but never a hopping and dancing donkey. Not knowing at all how she had managed it, Alex quickly danced, one step to the left, one step to the right, a twist in the air before landing on both feet. The man with the fuzzy beard jumped out of his seat as the hall filled with laughter. "A dancing donkey!" he shouted. "What a clever idea!" "Yes!" the parents chanted. "How clever!" "Wonderful! Wonderful!" shouted the newspaper man, taking pictures of Alex. "Quite wonderful!" Alex still had not worked out how she'd managed to dance Miranda's dance, but she knew one thing. Having the part of a donkey was suddenly quite the best thing to be in their school Christmas play. Miranda's face had already flushed over. She knew that she was supposed to be the star of the show. She jumped on stage, then began her dance again. One step to the left, one step to the right, a twist in the air before landing on both feet. But the parents didn't clap or cheer. "Bring back the donkey!" they shouted. "No!" shouted Miranda, ignoring Mrs. Moore's cries for her to come down. "I'll show you." With not 1, but 2 steps to the left, 3 steps to the right, a twist, a turn, and a jump in the air, Miranda spun round and round. But she didn't land gently on her feet. Instead, her lovely white hair and ribbon spun round once, then twice, then 3 times as Miranda wobbled before falling off the stage. head first, right into her mum's big cake. "My darling!" shouted Miranda's mum. "My cake!" yelled Miranda as she pulled herself up. "It's ruined!" "And so is the play," Mrs. Moore boomed. "Ruined?" shouted the man with the fuzzy beard. "The play isn't ruined." "No!" the other parents chorused. "It's super!" shouted the newspaper man, taking a picture of Miranda with dripping cake from her hair. "Absolutely super!" In fact, the man with the beard continued, "This is the best Christmas play ever, Mrs. Moore. Thank you." "Yay! Yes!" cheered the parents. "Well done, Mrs. Moore." And of course, Mrs. Moore could do nothing but grin back at the cheering parents. The next day, everyone was excited. Everyone except Miranda. She had not turned up to school. All the other children knew that their Christmas play would be in the newspaper. And there it was, one large picture of Miranda, covered in dripping cake, screaming as parents cheered. And there was the star of the show, a full page with Alex, the dancing donkey. I think you can be our angel next year," said Mrs. Moore to Alex. But Alex didn't reply, at least not at first. She was still staring into the newspaper picture of herself as a donkey, for there, with ears like great fluffy rabbits, was something else hidden in the shadows of the stage. A donkey. Its deep green eyes were smiling at her. "We'll all be the donkey," the rest of the class chorused. "We don't mind." "Mrs. Moore," said Alex without looking up, "I think I should like to be the donkey again next year." "Of course," Mrs. Moore replied. "After all, donkeys don't have to be clumsy." "I know," smiled Alex as she watched those deep green eyes of the donkey wink, then smile at her. "I know." The Magic Christmas Tree. "We're slipping behind," giggled Auntie Dot. "Come on, David's beating us." Tammy didn't mind being beaten by her brother. After all, David was the only one who knew where to find the magic Christmas tree. The tree which was going to take them on a strange and mysterious journey. Her slow trot broke into a jog as she tried to keep up with her brother along a winding footpath next to the village woods. She couldn't remember having walked along here before, but that didn't seem important. The best bit was yet to come. All they had to do was to find the tree. "Hurry up!" shouted David as he ran through the snow ahead of them. "Come on!" "Oh, how much farther?" Auntie Dot shouted from just behind. Tammy's jog broke into a sprint. Her head was full of the story David had told her yesterday. The story about the tree which took him to a land where the snow never melts. A place full of tiny people packing, wrapping, and getting ready to deliver Christmas presents to the children of the world. An amazing and wonderful place. A world you could enter, not through a passageway or door, but through the magic Christmas tree. "That's it!" shouted David, disappearing around a last twist in the path. Tammy felt her heart begin to race. Very soon she too would be entering this magical world. She too would pass into Santa's magic winter world. Of course, most sisters would never have listened to their brothers. But Tammy wasn't most sisters. And anyway, there was Auntie Dot. When David had told Auntie Dot about this strange land yesterday, she had sat and listened. Her eyes had widened when he explained how he had accidentally stumbled across the tree. She didn't tell David to stop talking nonsense. She believed David. And if Auntie Dot believed David, then so did Tammy. Tammy knew that Auntie Dot was always right. Tammy raced towards that last twist in the path. Auntie Dot was just behind. They turned the corner and stopped. There before them was a tiny wooden gate, already open. "David must have gone in," Tammy said in a voice only just louder than the faint whispering of the leaves above them. "Shall we go?" "Of course," Auntie Dot said, running up behind her. In one small step they had already walked through the gate. And there it was, The Christmas tree, its lights shining as high as Tammy could see. Tammy knew their real journey was about to begin. "Come on!" a voice suddenly shouted. "Hurry up!" There was no mistaking that voice. It was David's. It was coming from inside the tree. "He's gone without us! He has!" Tammy cried, running over to the tree. "He's gone!" Tammy stared at its wide branches. She could not see any opening or gap, just a mass of thick green leaves. "I'll find it! I will!" Tammy shouted, poking at the leaves and pulling at their sharp edges. "The door's in here somewhere. It must be." She tugged at an especially large clump of the tree. The sharp leaves cut into her hands. Still there was no gap, no entrance for them to climb through. She slumped down on the ground. "We can't get in," she sobbed. "There's nothing here at all." Tammy's eyes had begun to well up with tears as her round cheeks flushed with colour. Her face looked like that of a small girl whose family might have gone on holiday, leaving only her behind. "Oh, why?" she sobbed. "Why did he—" "Disappear?" Auntie Dot interrupted. The clump of leaves dropped from Tammy's hand. Great dollops of tear bulged from the corners of her eyes, ready to gush down onto those flushed cheeks. "He's gone!" Tammy cried. "He's disappeared." "Well, yes, in one way he has," Auntie Dot said. "He has disappeared." "But," Tammy sobbed, "there's supposed to be a door or an opening or something, but there's—" "Nothing?" Auntie Dot smiled. One dollop of tear rolled down Tammy's face, chased slowly by another. Auntie Dot could have stopped the crying, stopped it there and then. She knew that. But here there was an important lesson to learn. Important lessons she knew. Lessons that were worth learning would always shed the tears of small girls and boys, no matter which world they might find themselves in. She bent down and smiled into Tammy's stained face. "If you want something to happen, really happen," she whispered, "sometimes you just have to believe it. Just like you believe in Santa Claus. David believed." Tammy let out a loud sob. Her aunt gently took her hand. "You believe that David went into the tree, don't you? You believe in Santa's winter world?" Tammy nodded. "Well, if you believe, if you really believe, follow me. Are you ready?" "Don't know," Tammy muttered, rubbing her eyes and blinking back the tears. Auntie Dot smiled as they both stood up. "I think you are." Tammy smeared the last bulge of tear across her face. Had she blinked again, she would have seen that they were both sinking deep into the green leaves of the Christmas tree, both on the start of a magical and mysterious journey. If you hear a creak at Christmas in the middle of the night, it'll just be Santa searching to find your toilet light. For after flying round the world and one sherry too many, Santa will always need to stop and spend a little penny. It isn't known across the world by any mum or dad that for 364 days a year, Santa's really bad. His bedroom's so untidy, he never eats his greens, and underneath that big red suit, Santa rarely ever cleans. He never likes to blow his nose and will not wipe his feet. He doesn't use a knife or fork when he tries to eat. So if you're ever told at all that Santa won't come if you're bad, don't believe a word of this from any mum or dad. When shooting through the sky and dipping right down low, have you ever wondered how Santa knows which way to go? Well, it's not because he's magic or can work out left from right. It's not because he's got radar to guide him through the night. No, Santa always finds his way down to your front door by listening to the gentle sound of your grumbling, guiding snore. For no two snores are quite the same. They all have a special beat. Some are long and very loud, others short and sweet. So if you want Santa to call, make sure you're up in bed, or he won't be able to find you and go somewhere else instead. Our Christmas school play didn't go well. Things just wouldn't work out at all. One of the kings lost his way, and the crib wouldn't fit in the hall. The angels didn't come down to earth, but found themselves stuck up a tree, and the stable was locked for the night, for the caretaker had taken the key. So next time we do a Christmas play, we'll try not to make it too long, for if it's only a minute or two, you won't notice the bits that go wrong. The Loch Ness Monster appears each Christmas without fail. First it pulls up its ugly head, then its long and slinky tail. And as it climbs onto dry land, no one ever stops to stare, for Christmas is a season for fancy dress everywhere. Which is the reason our monster can wander without fear, popping in and out of parties to drink wine and bottled beer. So do watch out at Christmas for a fishy fancy dress. Remember, it could be the real thing, the monster from Loch Ness. Christmas came early one day in July, when Santa fell down from out of the sky. He stood for a minute, then pulled at his hair, as a crowd gathered round to point and to stare. But before they could shout or get in his way, he blew a small whistle to summon his sleigh. And jumping aboard, he let out a cheer, to say he'd be back at the end of the year. But as he flew off and shot through the air, he heard a low boo and shouts of "Not fair!" Which is the reason on that very night Santa came back to paint the town white. And so, not to be mean, he flew through the sky to deliver small presents on that day in July. My dad thinks he's Santa Claus. He tells us every day. He drives to work each morning, riding on a sleigh. He keeps a dozen reindeer in our garden round the back, and walks around in a big red coat with a special Santa sack. He only ever eats mince pies and crumbly Christmas cake, and when we're all fast asleep, he's always wide awake. For that's when he's flying high, shooting on his sleigh. At least, that's what he tells us, nearly every day. I'm tickling my ear and scratching my nose. I'm chasing the cat and stretching my toes. I'm wiping my eyes and rubbing all fours. I'm sat on my tummy and licking my paws. And what if I bark and growl at Dad's wig? There's a bit of a chance that perhaps he might twig that what I would like, the best present of all for Christmas this year, is something quite small. Not a new bike or the best football strip, not even a train or a giant model ship, but something to care for, something that grows. One warm puppy dog with one wet puppy nose. A distant star fills the sky. It rises up and dances high, streaking, shooting through the night. A sun is born. In dark, there's light. A Christmas cracker is buried below. It died from a terrible cough. So don't come too close. Keep well back. This cracker has never gone off. Christmas is cancelled. The hollies come down. The lights have been turned off all over our town. Our stockings are empty. Our tree is now bare. On December the 25th, there'll be nothing to share. For Christmas is cancelled, the hollies come down, and the lights have gone off all over our town. It was the best lesson ever, the first of the week. The children didn't say a word. The teacher didn't speak. The chairs didn't scrape as everyone walked in slow, gazing out from misted glass at a magic world of snow.
Little Jack Horner sat in a corner, eating a Christmas pie. He put in his thumb and pulled out a plum and said, "What a good boy am I!"
Jolly old St. Nicholas, lean your ear this way. Don't you tell a single soul what I'm going to say. Christmas Eve is coming soon. Now, you dear old man, whisper what you'll bring to me. Tell me if you can. When the clock is striking 12, when I'm fast asleep, down the chimney broad and black, with your pack you'll creep. All the stockings you will find hanging in a row. Mine will be the shortest one, you'll be sure to know. Johnny wants a pair of skates, Susie wants a dolly, Nellie wants a storybook, she thinks dolls are folly. As for me, my little brain isn't very bright. Choose for me, old Santa Claus, what you think is right.